Hey, what's going on, guys? Hey, what's up, Bobby?
Hey, what's up, man?
Got a lot of sports going on for me. It's a lot of stuff for the next hour and a half. Got this news that could probably break between lock and and other games, both in the NBA and in NHL actually. And then I definitely want to talk about football as well.
hmm
Let me catch up with the news. I see Monty Morris is out. Goodwin is starting. Um, And then I see Claxton game time decision. Then it says Claxton is available. Okay, so Claxton available, so that's taken care of. And this Atlanta stuff is still very up in the air, I suppose, right?
hmm
Okay.
I would imagine more likely than not that they're not playing for what it's worth.
Who's they?
Trey and Capella.
Well, you don't think Trey's gonna play either?
It's my guess, but I
Okay.
mean, it could be wrong. But I'm acting as if he and Capella are out.
Well, I mean that's much bigger than even I thought. I didn't think that I thought that DeAndre Hunter would play and Trey would play. I didn't think Trey was going to be out, but
I
yeah,
think,
so we'll just wait. I mean,
yeah, I'm surprised by what they're doing with Hunter. I think I'm shocked he should sit too. I'm planning for all of that, so I really just am saving my value. I don't think, by the way, Trent Forrest is not going to be like a much better play without those guys. You know what I mean? I don't think he's like a great play or an automatic play anyway. So the guys in the first game, Avdia, Goodwin. If you want to play Kristaps or Kuzma, I have no problem. If you want to play Durant or Kyrie, I have no problem on the other side. Just remember that Ja Morant is legit questionable in that game also. And if Trey and Capella and Ja Morant sit, you're going to want to have plenty of roster spots.
yeah.
Um, so the Indiana game and the Miami game and the Wizards game, I do like Goodwin and Avdia. They're basically in almost all my lineups. But the other spend ups, I'm a little bit more hesitant on because I think that these other guys being out, if Mitchell's out, both Garland and Levert are really good plays. Um, there's a lot of stuff that could happen like that later
Well, let's talk more about what you just said because somebody was asking in Discord when I mentioned that Monty Morris is out. Somebody asked, so is Jordan Goodwin a lock? And my comment was big. I forget what I actually said, but my what I was kind of implying is it really depends on the rest of the slate. Like and I think you're kind of touching on it. So you kind of think that Goodwin, for example, and Avdia are sort of the best plays at that range, regardless of what news comes out of Atlanta.
on. Yeah, I mean, it doesn't mean that Atlanta guys wouldn't be the same, but yeah, those are the guys I'd start my lineups with.
Okay. Okay. Because sometimes what happens is like is yeah, Goodwin will look like a really, really good play, but then all of a sudden like other crap will happen and he won't be kind of as good of a play. So we'll have to but again, so that's what's kind of cool is that you have to make that decision.
I
Like
don't think that even if all that information was out, that Goodwin wouldn't be one of the most popular.
that's what yeah, well that's the point,
Yeah.
right? So
Yeah.
that's the take. Okay, good.
Yeah. I mean, he just put up 43 in a game that they actually had the point guard. He put up 39 the game before that. um, he's good point per minute. The fact that he's starting against a bad Brooklyn defense, it's really hard not to like him. Foul trouble would be his only thing. I think that if you wanted to mix guys, like assuming that Barton is good to go, which I think he is, if you wanted to mix those guys and even on this thing, I think that you could do that. But that's where I feel like the Atlanta stuff might get better. It's just weird to know who it's going to be for Atlanta because it really does depend on if Capella's out, then a Kongwu automatic almost. If Hunter and Capella are out, then I would say Jalen Johnson is back to near not automatic, but like a guy who's gonna project really well. AJ Griffin will project really well. Aaron Holiday is a guy you could probably pass on, but if Jarrett Culver for some reason started, if there was no Trey, I think you'd want to play Culver. So I do think you're going to want a lot of that Atlanta situation, even if Morant plays and they're going to get blown out. These guys are going to be on the court enough. But I do still like the Wizards' value too.
We'll just see. But I predict that Trey will play. We'll see we'll see.
He may.
It doesn't mean anything, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because but I'm just talking out of my ass. But again maybe it's just my belief that the NBA marketing machine means something that they want to get Trey John Morant game going if possible.
Midday downgrades are 95% usually the guys are out.
Yeah, that's the problem, isn't it?
Especially with stars.
So maybe Jaw will sit too. Really screw it to the fans. Like have like none of the players play.
Yeah, I mean it makes some type of sense that time of the year. All these teams playing 4 and 6s and things like that. I think this would be a reasonable game to sit Jaw if they were going to do that, and that would make Tyus Jones. Well, Tyus Jones would be a better play than Goodwin, but they're both you'd play both of them, you know.
Right.
Yeah, Tyus Jones.
So
I mean, that guy
is I'm gonna change the I'm gonna do one set of projections now because with the Jordan Goodwin thing. I'm trying to maximize my time to see how I don't want to have to do them too many times. But then definitely when the Atlanta news comes in, I'll have to do it again. Yeah. Okay, Relax is saying the best play out of Minnesota versus Portland.
It's Gobert, but I mean Kyle Anderson, you certainly want exposure to him as well. But the thing is, there are plays that are gonna if those things open up for Atlanta, maybe that would be one you would downgrade a little bit, just because I do think Kyle Anderson has been great lately, but I can't promise he's gonna have the same type of, you know, he's really been like the dominant offensive player, and I like Edwards a little bit tonight. I mean, Anderson's at 18 assists his last 2 games. I do really like he and Gobert right now, but I'm willing to swap some things around depending on what happens with that Atlanta game. And I am playing 3 Minnesota players in my main lineup right now with Lillard on the other side, but that could all completely change depending on what happens in the after games. Yeah. Paid out for the season. That's too bad. I think it's probably like what they would.
Wow, that sucks.
They probably should want to like have a year without him after, you know, what are you bringing him back for? But man, it's unfortunate. I think he'll rebound and be fine though for the next year. I really like the future bets on the Pistons and Lions this year. I was telling all my Detroit friends that these are the best future bets you're going to get. You got the next 5 years. These guys are all going to have chances. The Lions may be happening a little sooner than we thought.
Hey, Lions can win out. You could pivot from your 1,000-to-1 bet that we lost on the Raiders. We could put on the Lions.
I think the Lions are they're not 1,000-to-1. They're like 3-to-1 to make the playoffs right now.
I mean to win the whole thing, but okay.
Oh yeah. I think that's actually reasonable. Like if you get 1,000-to-1, I'll take it. Yeah. So in terms of the spend ups, I guess the thing is that I can almost guarantee you that if any of the things we talked about happen, that Luka becomes insanely popular. I think he's going to be pretty popular, actually. I think that any projection on him is way, way, way low. I think he's going to be way closer to 30% than he is to 20. If any of these things happen, of course.
The other thing is that, again, another thing that I forgot to touch on is that we're still waiting. Maybe you did touch on it while I was doing something else. Is that we're waiting on Donovan Mitchell, right?
Yeah, I mentioned it.
Yeah.
And that makes LeVert, you know what I mean? So there's just a lot of stuff that's really hard to analyze this time. We do know what we want if those things happen, you know what I mean? And we got the Monte Morris news way plenty early. I wish all the teams were as early as they are. But I think that's sort of a good way to go, is like you can play the 2 obvious Wizards, Avdia, Goodwin, and I think you can play one of Kuzma, Porzingis with Kyrie or Durant on the other side, and then just count on the other value that's going to come, and play the thinner value, and if it doesn't come, or I think you can try to stack the Atlanta Philly the Memphis game if Ja is out, and Trey or Capella are out. I think that game becomes very stackable. I think you'd want multiple pieces from Cleveland. Obviously, if there's no Mitchell, probably LeVert, Garland are the obvious ones, but I wouldn't mind mixing in Osman. And then the most stackable, just natural game because of environment is Minnesota, Portland. And that's sort of where I'm just putting all my money for right now. And I'm just going to wait to see what happens and then divide it up depending on what news we get.
Yeah, as you suspected, and as I guess I suspected as well, I just wanted to see it, is that with the most recent projection updates, which I'm just now posting, yeah, you do have Goodwin as being the best value. I have him almost at 7x. And yeah, and that's so I put that I run this because if he were like the top value at like only 6x, for example, with all this other news maybe coming, I might not play him that much in the first game. But
Yeah.
because he's that good of a value, that I might.
Yeah, I mean, like, this sounds like ridiculous to say out loud, but like when you have a guy who's 4,600 that could be a top 3 scorer on the slate, it's kind of hard to just ignore him. You know what I mean?
Right.
He's different than those other guys in that sense. Like, he can put up 50. And if he puts up 50, like at 4,600, you can't win without him.
You can't do anything without him.
Yeah. Everybody's posting the Anthony Edwards quotes.
What did he say?
He said that they got busted. That Lillard and what's his name, Simons busted their ass too much. So now he's going to make sure he's better tonight. Just like typical stuff.
No, just nonsense.
Nothing carried away. I still do like it though for him. I mean, they lost the game. It's an important game for them. It's the back-to-back. They just, both in Portland. Edwards is going to play 45 minutes. Not really. He'll play 40 minutes, but DraftKings did do a good job of pricing him up.
Yeah.
I still think that it's like a little bit similar to Devin Booker, where you're going to see games where he's like handling the ball and doing absolutely everything and putting up like 65. And then I think you're going to see other games where other guys actually are able to score easily enough, like with Kyle Anderson and things like that, as well as Russell, I think, is in play, and Noel would be in play if not for this other great value. But Edwards, then you're just going to see some 30s and you're going to see a lot of 60s. It's not going to be a whole bunch that are right in the middle, in my opinion.
Right now, I'd be getting.
Zubac apparently is questionable now, which, to be honest, doesn't really do anything for me, except for it makes me like, the Paul George play better, I guess. Extra rebounds. I guess if they started Moses Brown, you kind of have to do that, though.
Let's go.
You get the weird. It would be very weird though, because it's a team they can play small against anyway. Because you're starting Blake Griffin on the other side, so you don't need to necessarily do that. But it could be kind of fun because Moses Brown, we know that the point per minute is pretty amazing.
Yep.
MJ's question is very confusing to me because I don't know. I'm not setting the rest of your lineup, so I can't answer whether he's in the point guard or the shooting guard slot because I have no idea who else you're playing. So I think either are.
Well, let me answer it this way. You have Trent Forrest, who you could put in your shooting guard spot if you want to do that. Aside from him, not a lot of guys that I see, at least values, going in the shooting guard position. Then again, not really in the point guard position either. So I think it doesn't make much of a difference. Let me look at the spend ups. Well, Luka's in the point guard position. So I think you should probably put Jordan Goodwin if you're going to play him, maybe probably in the shooting guard, right? Because you could play Luka in point guard only, right? Ja at point guard only if you decide to do that. Halliburton at point guard only. Lillard at point guard only. So I guess to answer the question, I think you probably want to put Jordan Goodwin in the shooting guard.
I don't think any of those guys you mentioned are necessarily strong plays, though. Particularly, I don't see. I think forward is really strong. I think forward is actually like loaded. Avdia is the most obvious play on the slate. I feel like Kyle Anderson is also really an obvious one. I think I have 100% of both those guys right now.
So what does that mean, though? I mean, but
those are forwards. So it locks up your forward spots because then if you're playing other guys like Edwards, who I would almost always have as a forward, I have him in my guard spot.
Oh, I see.
In my point guard spot, you know what I mean? But I also have Lillard in my other guard spot. So I just think that it's not a slate that we're not going to know the answer to this really because it's going to depend on what happens with the 8 p.m. Eastern games are going to dictate what positions are stronger. But right now it's pretty spread out outside of the fact that if Capella's out, then center is crazy overloaded because Okongwu is a really, really difficult fade. And Gobert is a really good play. Jared Allen's a really good play. Porzingis is a good enough play. There's a lot of guys who I think you could make arguments for at center, and they're all just, those are the just center eligible ones. But Okongwu would basically take up one of your spots. So I think center would become the most desired position. And then, well, I guess then again, if Ja's out, your priority of every play on the slate is Tyus Jones.
Right.
So it really does just depend on what's going to happen with those games. You know what I mean? We're just speculating, I think, at the moment, right? Because look, if everybody left who's questionable plays, first of all, I'll do a little dance or something, because I've never seen that happen in the recent NBA. Right. I would assume like Zubac is probably out, but I don't know that means Moses Brown will start. But it does seem, it's just really unlike teams to announce guys questionable this late in the day and then not play them. So I think that it is a little bit.
You mean and play them?
What's that?
You mean and play them? It would be.
What did I say? What did I say?
I know what you meant. Don't worry about
it. Yeah, I must have said it the wrong way. Sorry. So some piece of news here I'm trying to get and I didn't see it. Okay. It's the Cade surgery. But yeah, it's an interesting slate, and I probably have a little too much Minnesota Portland, but that game just buys me so much time.
That's the thing. That's what I makes it. You might not end up having any of it. You know what I mean? But
sure.
But like you said, it buys you time.
Mm-hmm. And I don't see the spend ups. The only thing I don't like that I'm doing, like I actually really think that Kyrie and KD are both really good plays today. But I'm like, I don't want Lillard to be my spend up at 10-2. I don't want him to be my highest price player. But if I'm going to play Edwards, Anderson, and Gobert, then I will. But the second any of that other news comes in, I switch everything around, and then Lillard is probably not even on the board for me. And unfortunately, I might have to fight to try to not end up with Luka, because I think this other value for Atlanta, if that happens, is going to be really good value.
Yeah, like whoever the starting point guard is.
Yeah. It's a pretty big one. Very, very big one.
They still have that same guy? No, they don't have DeLon Wright anymore, right? Who's the who you say the guy might be?
For which team?
For Atlanta? If Trey's out?
Could be Culver.
Culver, right, okay.
AJ Griffin would be a great play. Like I actually like that. That's the other. So like AJ Griffin is in my main lineup right now because I'm betting on one of Young, Capella, and Hunter to be out, and any of those guys being out makes Griffin a good play. And I have Okongwu in my main lineup too. And look, if Capella plays, first of all, Capella's in play, but not a priority. But I'll just switch out my Okongwu and Lillard and Edwards for the fitting pieces. And that's just sort of play this kind of slate, I think. The Dort has huge games versus Dell. I think chasing a guy like Dort tonight is not what I would want to do. Like, if you want to say, okay, I'll take Dort over Kyle Anderson. Dort hasn't, first of all, his situation is much worse. Kyle Anderson, and they're playing, most of his numbers are going to derive from the fact that they were playing with Karl Anthony Towns and he wasn't starting this year. With Dort, it just feels like, there's just so many 5X games that he has here, and he's going to guard Luka, and there's also foul trouble possibility there. I don't see that as being like a priority, but if you want to use it as a reservation spot, that's fine with me. But I don't get carried away all the time. And sometimes when guys have good games, like Dort's, when he has a big game, it's usually like a real big game. It's usually just because he gets hot from three. And that's pretty much it. Like, and it's weird this year, he really I don't think he scored 40 fantasy points in a game. Oh, he has one 40 fantasy point game, which is kind of shocking. It's hard to play as much as 5,200 and do that. And I would rather play Kyle Anderson, who has 239 games or whatever it is in his last in his job in this role. He's put up 47 and 32 his last two games.
One other guy that you spoke about earlier, we haven't really. I mean, he's probably going to drop off the list or whatever on DraftKings, but still at $4K on FanDuel, Victor Oladipo is very cheap.
Yeah, I think that he was in my first early build today, which was replaced by Goodwin. But, yeah. Boy, I'll tell you what, though. It'd be really frustrating because would they start – it seems like a weird place to start Moses Brown, but – I mean, that's the kind of speculative thing that could end up paying off for you if you if you do it. Let's just see if it gives you another option if you played that in your utility spot and just really assume. And this is more for large field stuff, so don't like make this as part of your main lineup. Is there anybody else in that price range who you can maybe get away with being okay? Not really. Yeah, I don't think there is. I mean, it's interesting. I'm sort of starting to flirt with this idea a little bit.
Which?
Like he's getting a tiny bit of rotation minutes every game. Would they start him?
Well, we don't have to make that decision yet, right? I mean,
well, they're not. Well, we won't know. That's the 10:30 Eastern.
Yeah, I mean, so you want to leave some possibility, some lineups possibility.
I guess that I've got enough things that I don't need to do that, but it does feel it's probably a little too thin, but it's just kind of interesting. Yeah, the only time I really play guys like Dort on full slates are like basically as a part of a game stack, and he's a cheap piece of it or something like that. He's just not a guy you want to try to be overweight on in general in DFS. And he can get hot, sure, but when Poku and Giddy are both there, I'm sorry, Poku, Giddy, and SGA are all there. It's kind of tough for him to.
Right.
He's never going to stand out for me, but he, doesn't mean he can't put up a 40 game, I guess, once this year. But and I would bet that game had one of those guys out.
Yeah.
But he could do it. It's just I'd rather play Kyle Anderson. Okay, what else have we got? I'm going to get out of here in about 8 minutes and finish my.
Yeah, I'm here because I want to talk about hockey. I want to talk about the football too.
Oh, let's talk about some football.
Yeah.
What do you think of my Hunter Henry captain?
What do I think of Hunter Henry captain? I want to go backwards.
Okay.
I want to talk about the slate a little bit. So a couple of things. Number one is that there's a couple of, I don't want to say misprices, but call it what it is. So if you run your builds, you're going to find something that you wouldn't have anticipated today, in that you'd be getting very little DeAndre Hopkins, which on a showdown slate seems kind of ridiculous in a way, but when you have Ramondre Stevenson just priced lower than he is, this is what ends up happening. I mean, you get Ramondre Stevenson like 10,000% of your lineups, including a bunch in the captain and all that stuff. So I want to go through some of this Arizona receiving stuff because I did a little bit of work on this and I was, trying to figure this out. It depends on who you listen to and who you ask, but what's going to happen to Dortch, okay? Because he's getting projected and he's getting talked about, kind of popular here. I mean, almost very popular, with the idea that he's going to be just in the slot. He's going to come back. He was hurt he was kind of hurt last week. But I'm not so sure this is going to be the case. You have Goodwin and what's his name and Hopkins, who are both active. They're going to be on the field every snap, right?
Brown and Hopkins, yeah.
Was that?
Brown and Hopkins, yeah. You said Goodwin. I think you meant.
Oh, sorry.
No, you're good.
Yeah, Brown and so that third receiver, whatever it is, they could very well just have Marquise Brown just play the slot and stick what's his name on the outside, like AJ Green or Robbie Anderson or whoever, and Dortch might end up being totally busted at 25% ownership. I don't know the answer, but I don't think it's so clear that Dortch is going to come right back in, because remember this is whatchamacallit, like when Dortch got all that work or whatever before. One time Rondell Moore was out, and another time got hurt, like at the first play of the game. The other time, I don't think Marquise Brown
and Hopkins have only played one game together.
Yeah, no, exactly.
Yeah.
So I don't really want to play Dortch. I guess that's what I'm kind of getting at here. I like Goodwin. Goodwin is, again, Goodwin. I keep saying Goodwin. Marquise Brown is going to be more popular than Hopkins, right? Just because of his price.
Yeah.
Did you have? I mean, did you look at it? Do you have any thoughts on the receiving from Washington? Anything I just said, or I mean, so I don't want to play anything that funny. Like I don't want to play Max Williams or any of the other Washington, Arizona nonsense. I don't want to play any backup running backs. I think James Conner gets all the running back work, right? So,
Mhm.
so, so this Dortch versus non-Dortch, I guess, is my question on that side. You want to comment on that, and then we talk New England?
I think George is fine. I not definitely didn't go out of my way or nothing screamed like I should need to play him or anything. I still like the getting weird with a couple of the cheap Steven Anderson or Max Williams and hope
Oh
they catch a
yeah.
touchdown pass at minimum cost.
Oh, shit. Okay.
So I have a little bit of interest in them. But I think George is fine to take a shot with. And I think that on the other side, I think that this is your Tyquan Thornton game. This is
Yeah.
the
So let's talk about this because this other side is kind of like New England can. I mean, Arizona gives up a lot of stuff. You know what I mean? Like
yeah.
I think that New England can score here, and so the receivers, if you want to play them, right, are Aguilar, Parker, and then
Thornton.
right, but Henry, Bourne, and Thornton, right? Those
Yeah,
are those are
Bourne
the
is
guys,
really like their fourth receiver,
right?
which is
Um,
weird because Thornton he's priced like he's not, but Thornton is actually was more a part of the game in Buffalo than Bourne was.
right. So and then there's and Johnu Smith is kind of like the last guy. I don't want to play. Um, and it seems like we're supposed to, right? So Ramondre Stevenson with what's his name out of the game, you think you get all of the work, but nobody gets like all of the work,
He
right?
does.
Okay. As I was going to ask you if it's worth taking flyers at any of these bow wows, like the Kevin Harris or the Pierre Strong or
I think there's
anything
been
like
a combined 2 carries outside of Stevenson in the
that.
last
Okay.
3 weeks.
Okay. All right.
Um,
Good point.
so that's my anti one, and also he's going to get a ton of work in the passing game anyway. He always does.
Yeah.
Ramondre. I don't see Ramondre as personally. I didn't get to any fades of Ramondre Stevenson.
I didn't either. I literally have 100% of him right now.
Yeah.
I was just thinking of hoodoos or whatever. So Thornton is going to be probably the best of the of the cheaper guys, and he can outscore the other guys too. Like if things go his way. Now you mentioned Hunter Henry. Yeah, I mean that certainly makes some sense. I didn't quite. Did I get to him in the captain? Yeah, I got a couple of couple of captains all over the place. I do have at least now I do have Stevenson as the highest captain, but I mean he's going to be like huge chalk up there. You know, I just
Mhm.
I think Marquise Brown is a legitimate captain. I think Hunter Henry that might be a good idea actually.
He's the weird look. They're the worst team in the football against guarding the middle of the field. And if you're trying to find a way to get different, it's certainly when you don't have your normal top receiver, and you're playing against a team that has the worst defense over the middle in the NFL. It seems like a pretty good spot to get a little different, and it does, and it also meets the full criteria because it saves you the money and enough money to where it's not like you're paying the same amount for him that you are for these other guys we're considering playing at captain. So it's just every which way. I sort of like the way the Henry things go. Now that's a more of a longer shot one. The other ones that are the logical one is Stevenson and Kyler Murray. I do like Hopkins and Mac Jones as my other two. And I wouldn't dismiss like a Thornton at captain either.
Yeah.
A touchdown. I mean, he could like this happens with the Patriots receivers. Remember, like they have guys who like literally show up at the game as like their fifth receiver, and that guy ends up with the 9 targets for 8 catches and 60 yards a touchdown, which doesn't sound like much, but when you're 1,400, it's pretty awesome.
Do you like kickers or defenses at all? Any big take like
I feel like the Arizona, both sides. I could understand the argument for all 4 of them. The truth is, I'm not playing that much of any of them. Okay. But I do think that they all are strong. If I had to pick, I would be more likely to pick the kicker for New England, and I'd be more likely to pick Arizona's defense, but they're close. Probably Arizona's defense would be the better of the two, but I get the argument for it, but I actually have a feeling tonight might be kind of like the over in this game. Arizona's games tend to go over at home, especially, and they're actually healthy. They may be a little bit underrepresented because they're a little better than they have been all year long at this moment. So I think that that's not really being accounted for, because I do think having two guys like Brown, and you see what happens when you have two like superstar wide receivers. And I know that Brown is not the same thing, but because of his speed and his explosive playability, and even if you want to throw in guys like Robbie Anderson, if you can just throw that speed at a team, it's going to be hard to cover all of Arizona tonight.
Well, I mean, it's no secret what New England's going to do, right? They're going to load up on Hopkins, and then they're going to just presume that the outside receivers are trash. I mean, maybe this is the ultra troll Robbie Anderson game.
I think there's definitely a case for it.
Yeah.
Especially if they have any trouble moving the ball and they're using Dortch as the other guy at first. But Dortch has got speed too. Like they have a lot of speed on offense. When you just put Brown and Hopkins in there already, and then you've got the best, maybe the best possession receiver in the game in Hopkins. By the way, I'm just going to throw this out there with Steven Adams. Steven Adams is out, which leaves me very confused as to what to do. But Brandon Clark is going to pop through the roof. I would say that almost always when this happens, Brandon Clark doesn't end up starting, but and it also improves Jaren Jackson as a play. But I do think Brandon Clark is he's a good play, but a guy who I don't think
Trey Young is out.
I told you.
And Miami's starting lineup is out. Is the exact who you expect?
Yeah.
Ja Morant is a true questionable. So Trey Young is out. Okay. All right.
So pretty much.
Now, if Trey Young is ruled out, I presume that other Atlanta news is coming forthwith. But who knows?
And we just got the news on Adams, which makes me think it's more likely that Ja does play.
Right. Just say he's a true questionable going into pregame warmups.
Yeah, I think he is a true questionable. But it is kind of weird because so Aaron Holiday will project okay. Like, don't play Aaron Holiday. In general, it's just the kind of value we want to avoid for the most part. I love Aaron Holiday as like a player, and he's a UCLA guy, so even especially.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, he went there, and obviously his brother Drew is one of my favorite guys. So, he just doesn't initiate enough of the offense or do enough of that stuff in general. He can get hot from three and maybe get you 30 fantasy points, but he's going to have to do some good shooting to do it, because he's not going to do a whole lot going to the basket. He can get steals occasionally. He can get very few rebounds. Like
Bogdanovich is out. We knew that.
Yeah.
Nets starting lineup is out. No surprises.
Yep. God, if Seth Curry goes off tonight, I'm going to be kind of pissed off. He was my early 2B value guy, but I just can't justify it anymore.
Yeah, coming off the bench, it's kind of hard.
Yeah. I mean, he's got the ceiling though. I'll tell you that. Like he can 10x easily. He just did it. And also they've got TJ Warren there getting minutes now. So
I saw that he's back active again.
There's going to be a time in the not too distant future where we start playing him.
Do you remember him during the bubble? He was like
he was the best player, player in the whole bubble for a while.
Yeah. It was him and the other one, Booker, and Mitchell.
I don't believe in talking in locks, Adam, so I'm not going to do that. The early value plays that I'm making the most of that I do have at near lockish, but not quite entirely locked, are Goodwin and Avdia.
Yes, I agree with that.
And that's pretty much all I have to do until 8 Eastern. Like, you know what I mean?
Well,
because we need the Atlanta starting lineup. We're going to need the Ja news. We're going to need the Capella news. We're going to need the news we don't know about. We're going to need the Donovan Mitchell news. It's going to end up being a pretty chalky slate, is my guess.
Oh, so it's not till 8, the Atlanta-Memphis game. Okay.
I kind of like this Jarrett Culver play, by the way.
Well, we have to see.
Well, no, but I don't know if we do with him. Like if he starts, yes, you're play him. But he looks good and active to me. I just wish one of Hunter or Capella was out to sort of solidify him.
So I'm trying to figure out the rest of my evening. So I'll put in my lineups before 7 that will have the Washington, Brooklyn. I'll have the Washington guys. Then I don't have to worry about the NBA until 7:40 probably. But I then will have to deal with the news. Only a couple people know I'm talking about coming out of Ottawa, because there's a guy in Ottawa I have to watch, and he starts at 7:30, so I have to watch that. And then when 7:40 comes and I finish doing the NBA, then I will also do my football rebuilds. Okay. I think I could probably have some food somewhere in there as well.
Somewhere in there, you'd hope so.
Well, I'm hoping for the food in like 10 minutes. That's going to be that's the plan. But now again, I said this before. Just so you guys, if you guys use SaberSim to build for the Showdown slate, I mentioned this a couple of days ago. You're going to get some weird stuff. You're going to get like all kinds of nonsense in the captain spot. And you can either just accept it or just kind of make a reality check here. Like when I like uploaded my projections, I ran just like, a bunch of lineups. I'm getting like 2 lineups or 1 lineup, whatever, with like Kevin Harris in the captain. And I'm just, you know what I mean? I just don't think I want to do that. You know what I mean? But I want to look at it only because I want to see what that does for me. Like,
mm-hmm.
like sometimes you stick like a 300 guy in the captain to get like all the other stuff. Like here, this is what it gets you. So that allows you to play all of them. Like Murray, it doesn't even let you play Hopkins. I mean, you could play Murray, Stevenson, Brown, Jones, and Hopkins all in the. But one of those guys is going to just like, remember, in the captain, you get 1.5. So I don't think that's the way to do, is to like punt the captain today.
Mm-hmm.
But so anyway, so if you do SaberSim, you are going to see a bunch of that, and you have to decide what to do with that. I do think that there are worlds where like defense kind of scores a lot today, just because they're both very aggressive. The Patriots and Arizona, and both quarterbacks in different ways are can succumb to aggressive defenses. But I just have to think that somebody normal is the guy you're supposed to put in the captain. So when you come up with Henry, I think that's probably a good idea. That's like the bottom end of what I consider normal.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So this is I'm trying to figure this slate out.
The NBA. Yeah.
Yeah, I think the answer is just to play the guys in the early games who you like, and then just skip it and go to. Yeah, that's what I'm going to do.
Are you going to play any? Well, with that said, are you going to play any Porzingis?
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah, I might.
Yeah, I can definitely get behind it. And I'm also going to play a little bit of Kyrie.
Okay.
And a little bit of KD.
So with Steven Adams, you said he's probably out, right?
Steven Adams is out from what I have.
Yeah. So that means, yeah, I agree with the Brandon Clark idea.
I'm doing the gamble thing a few times just to give it away. Like I am going to do the Moses Brown play and pray, kind of a weird thing. It's going to be in large field tournaments, but I'm doing it a number of times.
Well, and certainly if you're live and stuff or whatever, I mean, you could always swap to him.
Yeah. Well, no, though it's too weird. I think it's too weird.
Okay.
Of a build. I have 0 of my lineups right now, and I just threw them into one just because I had to. Like, I don't know. We don't know if he'll play even. I'll see. But I literally have not one lineup with DeAndre Hunter right now. So I
currently have 55% of him.
Yeah, and he's like one of the most popular players. But I think it's the wrong kind of guy usually for me. back to back.
Depends on who else is not playing. I mean, like with Trey out, I mean that's a lot of usage to go around.
He
Even though
doesn't
he's not that
he doesn't
guy.
do that. Yeah, like in fact, most of these guys aren't like that. Like, what are they gonna do? Just run Griffin and
Someone's got to take shots, right? I mean, like
Griffin.
and he's coming off the big buzzer beater. He's feeling it, you know.
Yeah, I mean, he took 17 shots in that game too.
Yeah,
he takes shots. He'll shoot. I like him a lot. I really like his game. I can't believe the team let them get that playoff though. That's a tough one.
It's a great play.
Yeah.
I mean, nobody's expecting that. That's a tough one. Who was expecting that? You get Bogdanovich on the court. You had Trey on the court. Like everybody on the court. And then when Trey set the screen, they didn't know what to do, and they switched off. They left DeRozan chasing Trey out into nowhere land, and what's his name got the matchup. They totally freaking drew that up. It's an amazing call.
Yeah, no, it was. Yeah, I'm still looking on here, trying to see if there's anything.
We'll see if they changed anything from the Minnesota or the Memphis side that I need to worry about right now. Let's see. Nothing I worry about right now, but so Steven Adams is out. So we will Brandon Clark. Okay, so that he's getting another 7.
It seems like there's no way. Like it'd be a weird time to bring Mitchell back against a team that's lost 11 in a row, and he's got obviously a legitimate leg problem. Why would they play Mitchell?
I'll tell you this. That guy you mentioned, the Brandon Clark is going to take all the cheese.
He's going to take what?
He's going to take all the money here.
Why? He's like a He's like what do you mean? He's a chalk guy.
That's what I'm saying. He's going to take all everybody's owners. He's going to take all the money.
Okay. I'm sorry. I thought you were saying he's going to win all the money.
No, he's going to play. He's going to take he's going to. When they say take the money, it's like a horse race thing. You take money, that means every bet's on you. I have a 38% ownership, but you know what I mean, like 7x projection. I mean, it's
yeah.
I mean, he might win everybody the money, but it's not just him.
Not in any of my lineups right now. That's the other thing, I guess. Here we go. I'll throw him into one right now.
It doesn't even matter. You know what I mean? Like your lineups are going to be just much different at 7 in like an hour from now.
Yeah, it's just weird because they always project him to start, and he never ever starts.
No, he doesn't start.
LeVert.
Yeah, but what that does do is it gets me off of. I think it gets me. Oh no, he's power forward, huh?
Who do you think it got off?
I was going to say it got me off of Porzingis early, but it doesn't because he's not center.
Gotcha.
How much Luka do you think you're going to end up with after all this? We don't know. I mean, like
I think he's going to be really popular.
Yeah. So you're going to still go with the Portland, Minnesota stack thing, huh?
I mean, just until we get the rest of the news from Memphis. The Ja Morant thing is kind of where everything hinges right now. And I think the same thing with Mitchell. I mean, it's going to be hard not to want to play LeVert.
Well, this is really funny. So the lineup that I was thinking about that had Porzingis, now it doesn't have Porzingis. Now it has Kuzma. It's pretty funny.
Wait, that's funny. I think those guys are interesting.
Let me go to FanDuel. Change my early FanDuels. We will. Okay, so check this. This Clark on FanDuel is he's more expensive. There's $5,000 over there. Is John Conchar? No, I don't want to play John Conchar. Though he gets a little bit of a bump too. Aldama gets a little bit of a bump, but no, not enough.
He may start, by the way.
You think so?
He may.
Yeah, Clark doesn't start. I mean, not usually. Even when the whole team is out, like he'll start.
The weirdest part, Sheets, I don't understand is that, and maybe he will tonight. Like maybe tonight is the night. But I've never ever like does, and they always just projects to start. I don't understand it.
They'll pull like a Hoosiers. They'll have 5 guys active, and they'll still keep them on the bench. They'll start 4 people, and then they'll bring them in after 6 minutes.
Yeah. Sorry. Trying to update a few things here or check on a few things. Okay.
So I think I'm covered for the NBA beginning of the slate. Clint Capella is still not. They haven't said anything about him, huh?
Nope.
Keldon Johnson is a game time decision.
I have a feeling he's going to sit too, but I don't think it makes much of a
Jeremy Sochan will play on a minutes restriction.
Yep, I figured that one.
Before I screw this up, so what else is from? What's in the 7:30 game? Right, that's Miami, Indiana.
No, there's no 7:30 game.
Oh, right. Okay,
Yeah.
So what else in the 7 o'clock? Tyree Halliburton,
Terrible
Oladipo,
matchup.
if you want to do that. Don't think I'm going to play Oladipo after all that.
Yeah.
Just Goodwin just takes up too many of my spots.
Yeah.
Goodwin and Irving, and then Goodwin and Luka, and Goodwin and who's the other guy I have? And some Lillard. That's what I have in those positions over there. And I want to see if there's any. Do I get NHL news here in my? I got to watch for this Ottawa business, and I'll watch for that in a little bit. I guess I should probably go. This way, maybe I can get some food.
Yeah, this is probably your chance.
Before I come back for hashtag Ottawa. Right now, do I have this DeBrincat character in my lineups? Yeah, I do. So I'm going to have to come back for that in a few minutes. All right, let me go. But I will definitely, I promise everybody I will get projections updated by, 7:45 maybe. Presuming they're in, you know what I mean? Like that's all I can do. Hopefully get them up by 7:45, and I guess that'll do it. I guess.
Yeah, sounds good to me. Sorry, I just talking to our chat. I think we're not going to have our call tonight for the thing because it looks like too many people are gone.
Okay.
But good luck to everybody. And Sheets, I'll be around in Discord, guys. If there's any questions or anything comes up, I'm sure there's going to be. So